Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda. And Steve, we haven't been here for a couple of weeks.
I think 4 weeks.
But we missed a really positive GDT result. And this week we're reporting on a bit of a correction.
Yeah, there was. So event number 280 ended an eight event rally with whole milk powder and butter correcting a quite spectacular chart there with those falls in both. And then AMF continued to improve.
Yep.
So clawing back to parity, towards parity. But yeah, we've left cheddar off there because there was only 80 tonnes offered in C6, which meant our chart looks really horrible because there's no comparative. So
yeah.
Anyway, so just showing there that demand was mixed. Whole milk powder definitely suffered because there was additional volume put on. So
Just last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if the previous event we saw the demand ratio almost off the top end of the scale, this one was almost off the bottom end.
Yeah.
But if you adjusted for the increased volume, the intention of buyers was probably similar to average.
Yeah.
You know, if you work that back. You know, the butter values were interesting. AMF coming up back towards, you know, we've sliced that discount in half in one event. But the other interesting thing is, you know, I'm holding to my theory that AMF values are driven by changes in volume available, and we saw a big reduction, 500 tonnes less this time.
Yeah. It's a very strong correlation there.
Yeah,
by the looks of it,
and prices rising again. So I'll keep pushing that theory. So mostly this was about China holding this result together again, lifting to high percentages in both whole milk and skim, and then backing off a bit in butter, which helped the slide at those high prices. But just to remind people of what's going on in 2021, that size of March buying, the two events in March, higher than any preceding year.
Yeah. And even compared to the heady days for 2014.
Yeah.
So it's very strong for this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
Well, it's a combination of things. You know, I guess the local prices for local cost of milk is much higher. There's changing milk use, probably a bit of food security buying in the background that's, you know, there's more credit available. Certainly the industries will, you know, people in business have been given a nudge by the government to ensure there's good coverage, particularly in commodities.
That's right. And the tariff rate coming off may or may not be so much of a factor these days. It's getting pretty small.
Yeah. And to remind that, you know, where we are in terms of history, this projects forward the results of GDT contracts into the months of delivery, and then into the Chinese currency. So this gives you a view on relative cost over time.
Yeah. So we're getting to the heights of experience of buying in Chinese currency, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. After a period of bargains.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other interesting thing in this event was that the premium for New Zealand product in skim milk powder was pared back quite a bit. So the small gain for Fonterra medium heat GDT, skim milk powder on the GDT was contrasted to a strong gain for Arla
and the US product.
And the US, who made a guest appearance.
Yeah.
And they'd be very happy with choosing to sell at this event. So they're probably the most interesting thing. So, you know, continuing the theme on China, looking at Fonterra's results.
Yeah, Fonterra released their half-year results for the period, 6-month period ending the 31st of January, and you've got to say they were pretty positive.
The charts there show how the breakup of business, how the contribution to results is cut up between the geographies and the units, and the AMENA, we should point out, is anything other than China and Asia Pacific, because it's a whole lot of other regions bundled together.
Yep. So Asia Pacific includes New Zealand, Australia, Southeast Asia.
Yeah. So obviously,
Japan.
Yeah. I think Japan's in North Asia, but
okay.
Never mind. So showing there the importance of China. China the Chinese unit across divisions posted a 38% gain in EBIT. It was the strongest performer. The strongest unit being food service in China, where the margins absolutely surged. Now that's interesting because prior year we didn't have COVID in these results.
No, it was just emerging sort of late in that period, the year prior. So, you know, it's not against COVID impacted food service closures or anything.
No, there might be a bit of that, you know, bolstering the supply chain buying in those numbers, but that's certainly a strong result. Confident market is going ahead.
Yep.
One of the other contrasts here is the fall in the Australian earnings.
Yes.
So that's what's been called out in the results is the damage to access to the Chinese market for the higher value product, being infant formula going through Diageo
channels.
Channels.
Yeah, which are more or less shut down given their travel restrictions.
Yeah, so that high value business has gone missing, so the fall in Australian earnings. And the other interesting thing I pulled out there is the decline, the decline in reference product sales, or the gain in, if you like, value adding.
Non-reference. So reference products are the products that are sold on GDT. They're commodity products used as a reference product for setting farmgate prices. So there has been a long-term move to move away from those commodity products, and it's continuing, but
slowly.
It's small.
Yeah. So it gained 1.5% of that percentage you see at the bottom there is milk solids used, which is an interesting piece of news out of that package.
Absolutely.
You can see there the various aspects of the result.
Yeah, there's the other thing to say, I guess, given what's happened in the second half, is that the second half results are going to probably be a lot less rosy.
Not as good as these.
No.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that's taken.
Yeah, given those increased prices flowing through.
All right. Well, Jo, chart of the week.
Chart of the week. I thought we could have a look at the commodity milk value in Australia, which is gathering a bit of attention. Turning attention to farmgate prices and step-ups and the like in this country. And also, obviously, as part of their interim results, Fonterra increased their forecast for the farmgate price in New Zealand to $7.60 at the midpoint of the range. So this is just on the left-hand side, just highlighting where the CMV is in Australia relative to where we were this time last year. And it certainly has recovered. Spent a lot of this season underwater, but has recovered in the recent month or so. Yeah. Still a bit shy of where we were this time last year. But over on the right-hand side, just looking at the New Zealand milk value, which is explicitly tied to those GDT results, Steve, and what's going on there.
So the weekly, what we're seeing in the top chart there on the right is we put a value on the spot trade that's occurred at the GDT on C2 contracts, turned back into New Zealand dollars, and just showing that spike recently.
Yeah.
But it, even over there, they're not going to see the full benefit of that until into next year. But the most of the season was below the new average, or the new expected full year price for milk.
Absolutely. And then the bad news that Australian farmers won't be happy to see, but the other chart there is just comparing the current spot value of milk in New Zealand and Australia. Yeah. And the big differences there, Steve, are around product mix, with New Zealand having a lot more exposure to whole milk powder, whereas we're more about the cheese. But the conversion costs, which are a perennial difference in terms of returns. Yeah,
given the small scale of Australian plants versus the size of New Zealand factories, much lower unit cost. So, yeah, they're relevant to discussions. We're approaching the period at which Australian companies set milk prices for the year beginning 1 July. So this will get a lot more airplay.
Yes.
In coming weeks.
Yes, but just interesting to see what are some of the fundamentals underlying that discussion.
Okay. Well, that's all from us this time. We'll be back sometime soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.